Shining Force is a game that we might have to venture off the beaten course for a little, because Shining Force is fundamentally a blend of two genres, the tactical RPG genre and the traditional JRPG genre, with both exploration and tactical combat. So let's talk about the games that are most similar to Shining Force. Arc the Lad is a series of games that also ventures into different territory later on in its life cycle, but in Arc the Lad 2, it was pretty similar to Shining Force. Arc the Lad 1 is more in the tactical RPG genre without the exploration so much, but it's a good game and a good lead up to the second game. If you only play one, I would definitely choose Arc the Lad 2, as it is the standout game in the series. But even the later game, Arc the Lad Twilight of the Spirits, is a good game and also carries some of the systems from the second game, with free roaming sections, tactical combat, though the combat isn't grid-based but more free movement. For any Shining Force fans, Arc the Lad is an easy recommend, and the first three games are in a collection on the PlayStation 1. Twilight of the Spirits is on the PS2. FEDA, Emblem of Justice, is possibly the most similar to Shining Force, and that's probably because it includes several of the developers who worked on those games. And in fact, many of them would go on to work on either more Shining games or Alundra. Sometimes both, which is a game I'd like to cover at some point. FEDA Emblem of Justice has it all: tactical combat, talking to people in towns, but it does have some differences. Instead of finding secret characters, some of the characters that you get are linked to your alignment. Alignment changes based on your actions, so if you kill more people instead of sticking to the instructions given during battles, you get more chaos points, and that determines not only people that join or stay in your party, but also the ending of the game. FEDA Emblem of Justice has a fan translation on the Super Famicom, but it also has a remake on the Sega Saturn. That one, no fan translation. A bit more of a mainstream pick before we head into the land of obscure but great titles, Fire Emblem Echoes Shadow of Valentia actually has the most in common with Shining Force out of any of the Fire Emblem games. That's because there are portions of the game that play more like a traditional JRPG, though they are limited to dungeons. The towns do have an aspect of exploration, but that feels a bit more similar to point-and-click adventure games or visual novels, whereas dungeons have you moving through 3D spaces. Fire Emblem Three Houses technically has a hub area that you wander around in, but it's pretty limited. Not a bad choice to play either, though. If you aren't as interested in the exploration, you might find that you enjoy Fire Emblem Three Houses a lot more. Fire Emblem Echoes Shadow of Valentia is on the Nintendo 3DS. Energy Breaker is one of the more unique games on the list, a bit more obscure due to only being released in Japan, but there is a fan translation. It has an isometric perspective. It is made by the same team who created the Lufia games, right after Lufia 2. Though somehow they also released Chaos Seed in the same year. There are even some small hints that Energy Breaker could be in the same world as Lufia. Energy Breaker has full town exploration and combat that is pretty similar to something like Tactics Ogre, at least in the way that it looks. Very beautiful art style, with a lot of things going for it, though combat can be a bit simple. Unfortunately, this is another case of no official US release, but there's that fan translation. You can play it through that on the Super Famicom. Just Breed is kind of like the prototype for a lot of these games and fits very well on this list, as it does combine tactical combat with town and world exploration. It's a late release on the Famicom by Enix, so while it does have a lot of really cool ideas, keep in mind it's a very early game of this type, so it's pretty simplistic. That being said, it's a solid game, made by a developer who was mostly making shogi games with only one other RPG to their name. You can play Just Breed through a fan translation on the Nintendo Famicom. This one's a bit of a leap, but stick with me when I say that Growlanser is a good recommendation for fans of Shining Force. It has a lot of similarities in the roaming exploration, fun and interesting characters, and tactical combat, but that combat has some key differences. Instead of being turn-based, it's actually real-time, but it plays out similarly to tactical combat in a lot of ways. Growlanser also has a ton of different choices that you can make that affect various things, including who you romance and the ending of the game. I'd recommend starting with Working Design's last released game in Growlanser Generations, which is a compilation of the second and third game. Growlanser 4 is underrated, but a bit more convoluted to go through in some ways. You can get Growlanser Generations on the PS2. Bahamut Lagoon is the last game on this list, and one that has some pretty cool systems. It obviously has the hybrid exploration and tactical combat. The world exploration is more of the point and click kind. You can explore locations as well. That is a bit more limited than some of the other options on the list, as the game is more linear. It also has a system of dragons where you can feed dragons, get them to change into different types depending on what you feed them. It'll change different stats and set them on different evolution paths. If that sounds interesting to you, there's a fan translation for the game on the Super Famicom. So there are some games to get you started. Hopefully you found something that interests you. If you have any other suggestions that could be useful to people, feel free to put them in the comments. I do videos on JRPGs, Western RPGs, and story-based games, so if you like that, subscribe. Thanks for watching.